Most success stories focus on what people did right. But today I'm going to talk to you about some mistakes that I made in my own business that I learned from and have since kind of fixed. And I think these mistakes will really help you as you're trying to start and grow your business. Now, I'm Jackie Green from Behind the Design, and like many entrepreneurials, I've had my fair shares of setbacks and challenges in building my business. And so I'm going to start off and tell you a little story about my background. I spent over 20 years in marketing, 15 in corporate marketing. I think I spent 7 years as a marketing consultant. And one day I woke up and decided I wanted to do something different. And so I wanted to become an interior designer. I made a list of all the things I was good at. I looked at all the, different aspects. I did all my research. I decided I'm going to be an interior designer. So what do? I put my shingle up and I'm going to be an interior designer. This is before I even took a class. Now later I would end up taking several classes. I got a degree in it, and then I would actually go on to teach. But this is what I was first beginning. I put my shingle out and I decide I'm going to be an interior designer. There are 3 things, though, as I did this that I made the mistake of. The very first one, which is actually kind of comical, is I didn't tell anybody. I know that sounds really ridiculous. I had this huge marketing background and I thought, okay, well, I will just do marketing stuff. And marketing stuff is I will, start a blog and I'll write about it and da-da-da-da. Well, just building a website and having a blog does not mean you're going to get clients. How you get clients is becoming visible, is increasing that visibility. But I didn't want to tell people. I didn't want to tell my friends. I didn't want to tell my family. I was embarrassed. I had very little to no experience in this industry. I knew I was going to be good at it. I knew I had talent, but how that all worked out into a system and how I could sell that was the part that I was insecure about. And so I just didn't tell anybody. And I was nervous and I was scared. And I didn't want other people to see me fail. That is the worst thing I could have done, because the truth of the matter is the people in your life want to see you succeed. All those friends you've had, all the people you have, met along the way, they want to see you succeed and they're there to support you. And so even if those people weren't necessarily my clients, they may know somebody. And so it would have been really important for me to really start singing the praises and saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what I have to offer, and so forth. So the huge mistake of visibility, how do we solve that? We solve that by 3 different things that I'm going just to tell you today. 1, networking. I would have signed up, and I eventually did this. I would have signed up for every group, not every group, but several groups within my community where I could connect with my target audience. Now, as a designer, my target audience would have been professional women, professional people who own a home, who, want to remodel, want to entertain their home, whatever that criteria of my target audiences. And so I would have got out there and network and really spread my name around. The second thing I would have done differently is I would have started exposing myself through speaking events or being guest on podcasts. So being a guest on a podcast opens you up into a large group of listeners, some in your marketplace and some not, but it adds credibility and gives you authority in what you're talking about. So I would have gone out and tried to be guest on podcasts. The next thing I would have done is actually put on speaking events. If I was a residential interior designer, I would connect with realtors, offer up a quick 20-minute speech on how to, some kind of educational thing, how to help your seller clean up, declutter, and stage their home. So what it started out was something that I could connect with a group that could be strategic partners. So real estate realtors would have been ideal for me. So what I should have done, and this is actually what I eventually did, is that I made cookies. I'm very good at baking. And so I made little cookies and I wrapped them individually and I put my little business card on and I put them in a cute little container and I took them to different real estate offices. The next thing is that I'm contacting the realtor or whoever kind of runs that office and say, hey, I would love to come in for a lunch and learn or to talk to your group. Here's some tips that I can provide them. That will give you more visibility and give you more of a strategic partnership. Make sure after you speak with them that you talk with each individual. Some realtors are really good about giving that advice and helping their clients, get their house staged and ready to go. Other ones, they want nothing to do with that. That's not their forte. They don't have an interest in that. And so they like to bring somebody in like an expert to be able to help them. Now, the third thing I would have done differently is social media and positioned myself as an authority on design. I was reluctant to put anything out on social media because I didn't have any pictures. I hadn't really done anything. I didn't have the experience yet. But the truth of the matter is I didn't need pictures. I could have created videos about, how do you put some decor together on a bookshelf? Or how do you stage your kitchen, whatever that is. Then I could have also taken other photos of things, beautiful images, of course, giving that image, saying who it was from and being very clear about this is not my image, this is somebody else's image. But here are the things that I really like about this picture. Doesn't this designer do a great job of this, this, and this? You can see the lines, you can see the colors, you can see the lighting's perfect, and kind of point out those things. So use other people's content and curate it into your own in some regards, as long as you're being positive. Now, I would never take a photo and be like, oh, this dumb thing, and this is so dumb that she did this and this and this. No, you want to be positive, and you want to make sure that you give credit back to whoever that photo is. And then I would have just been able to talk more about and put articles out there and put a blog and tie back into that blog of here's some tips on how to do X, Y, and Z. And so that's really important, is to really increase your visibility. Now, the second thing I did not do was have a clear direction and a clear plan. If I had a clear direction and clear plan, I probably would have avoided some of the mistakes I made in the first thing about not telling people and not being visible. I wasn't confident in my business and in my skills to be able to talk about that. That's where I should have taken a step back, and eventually did, and said, okay, what do I really have to offer here? Who's really going to buy from me? What are the systems I need to put into place to be able to serve these people in a matter of the budget that is put forth? What are all those things that go into that? And so I would have built in a strategic and a clear direction, a plan. In that plan, I would have identified, who am I really talking to? What is my target market? What is my brand? And, how do I share that brand? What is my unique proposition? Why would someone hire me over somebody else? And I didn't have clarity on what or how I was going to help someone. So my solutions on this is, one, is to get that clarity. Take the time, determine who, what, why, how, and when. What is that going to look like? That could be a big dream in your mind right now, but you have to look out there and say, hey, what do I want to be? And you need to then build the business off of what that's going to be. It might look today like it's unattainable, but the whole idea is that we dream big, and those dreams are attainable if we do the right steps. The other thing I would have done is I would have narrowed my target audience. At first I was thinking, anybody with a house is my target audience, and that just isn't the case. You have DIYers. I don't care how many times you market to them, if a DIYer is going to be just that. They're going to do their own design. They do not need your service. And so I would have really narrowed down my market and understood who I was going after. This would have saved me time and money in my marketing and my sales efforts. I wouldn't be wasting my time on people that just weren't going to buy from me. I was going to really focus in. And the other thing I would have done is I would have established my brand right away and figure out what does that brand stand for, and then scream that at every opportunity that I have. And if you don't know how to develop your brand or haven't developed your brand, I encourage you to check out, we have a continuing education course called Building a Brand Identity Beyond Logos, how interior designers can build a business using branding. And go out there and take that course. It's a great course. It teaches you everything about what branding is, why it's important, how you establish your brand, and then what you do to implement your brand. Now, the third thing, and this is really important, I didn't ask for help. I thought that I had to do it all, from my bookkeeping and accounting to the design and the drafting, to picking out materials, researching products, building out spec books, doing all those things. I thought that all had to come to me. Doing a 3D model. I had clients that would ask me for 3D models, and at the time I didn't know how to do it. Well, instead of finding a resource to help me with 3D models, I just kind of blew it off and like, oh yeah, and I never got back to it. And so that was not a good thing. And so what I would recommend is you identify where you are weak. Where are those areas? As a designer, as a business owner, you do not need to know everything. You need to be aware of what things have to be done. You have to have a general idea, but hiring people to help you or asking someone for a little bit of help or guidance is okay. So that could be a mentor. It could be a business coach. It could be just hiring somebody off of, Upwork or one of the other consulting firms and say, can you help me with this? Other thing I should have done is I should have asked more questions. I was so shy about my insecurity. I guess it was more about insecurity and shame that I didn't have the experience, that I was reluctant to ask questions of my clients and reluctant to ask questions of other designers. I didn't want them to know that I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And so I should have asked a lot more questions, and that would have saved me a ton of time and heartache, because I felt like, I don't know if you've ever felt this way as you're trying to learn something, that I was constantly stumbling over myself, always stepping on my own feet. And then I would learn the lesson. I'm like, why didn't I know that? And so it's really important that we understand, and learn from other people and what they have to offer. Again, people want to help you. And if they don't, they're probably not somebody you want to build a relationship with anyway. The next thing, I would have spent the money to hire someone. Bookkeeping is a perfect example of this. I taught myself QuickBooks. I watched videos on QuickBooks. I established everything in QuickBooks. Do you know how long that took me? It was a rabbit hole that lasted forever. And honestly, I still don't quite understand QuickBooks. I get by, but I needed somebody to really be able to set up my business, tell me exactly what I needed. I didn't want to spend the money on that. But in return, what did I do? I spent my time on it. And if you look at it from a business, your time is money. I could have spent that time that I was trying to figure out my bookkeeping, I could have spent that on trying to find new clients, find more clients, develop my processes, develop my systems, follow up on my prospects, build up more social media. You understand where I'm going with this, is that finding somebody to help you and spending the money will actually save you money in the long run. I know that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you are tight and you are trying to get as many clients as you possibly can and you're just trying to survive. But it really is important when we look at time to money. Your time is worth X amount of money. Is that X amount of money worth paying somebody else to do this? And the answer is typically yes. The last thing is, I would have hired a business coach much earlier in my business. And so when I say hire a business coach, I was guessing. I was trying to figure out where I was going, what I was doing. Do I offer this product? Do I not offer that product? In doing that, I end up spreading myself too thin. And so I think it's really important that we look for somebody as an advisor to help. A lot of business coaches, including myself, will give you an introductory, half hour and talk about your business. I always like to give you a couple snippets of information that could help you stay focused and get your business rolling, even if you can't afford my services. There are other business coaches out there that do very similar things and also do a little different approach to things. And so I think it's really important that we surround ourselves with people that can help us grow that business and not take on all of that to ourselves. Now, if you're getting started in your business, or your business feels like it's not getting anywhere, you're exhausted, you're working and you're working and you're pedaling away and nothing's happening, it's probably time to take a step back and you reach out to me. I have that nice Let's Chat strategy call. It's 30 minutes. We can chat about these things. We can talk about where you're struggling. I can give you a couple of tips. If it's not me, maybe you have another business coach or somebody else in one of your groups, your networking groups, somebody that you can kind of have lunch, have coffee with, talk through these things, and just get some advice from someone else. We get so boggled down in our own businesses. It's like we have blinders on, a horse with little blinders on. And those blinders prevent us from seeing a bigger picture. We get focused on some problem within our business or some situation and we don't see the bigger picture. And so we need to get those blinders off, and talking to someone else always helps. So I have included the Let's Chat strategy link down below. I also included the Branding CEU down below for you to check out and see if that's something that you might want to take. It's worth 1.5 credit hours, and it will teach you all about branding, and there's a workbook that goes along with it. Now, I will see you next time at Behind the Design.